Hey everyone, Dara Posner here from mudcoaching.com. Welcome back to my channel and thank you so much for joining me for my series Digging Deep with Dara, where we discuss all things self-love, self-relationship, and self-connection. So up until this point, we've covered quite a lot. We've defined what self-love is. We have made 3 promises to ourselves, which are an essential component of the foundation for building a self-loving relationship. And I introduced last week an acronym for the word CARE to give you a bit of a framework to begin really sort of orienting your mind about how to approach developing a deeper, more connected relationship with yourself. So this week, we are going to answer another really important question, and that is what self-love is not. All right, so hang with me. I'll be right back and we'll get started. All right, guys, so what self-love is not? First of all, why is it important to answer this question? Well, I think that when you're on a journey to accomplishing something, anything, it's really, really important to have as much clarity as possible about what it is you're trying to achieve so that you can be aware of the fact that you're actually making progress, that you're getting somewhere, and that you are staying the course and not getting too far off track. And I think sometimes when we confuse self-love with other things, it could take us off track. And not only that, it could take us in a completely different direction, away from what actually self-love is. And I know that's not what any of you want. You want to experience a true, loving, authentic relationship with yourself. And so let's hit 4 different things that can sometimes get confused with self-love, or if not confused, maybe accused. Okay, people might say, oh, self-love is this or it's that, because they really don't understand what self-love is in its most pure and authentic sense. Okay, so the first thing that comes to mind as what self-love is not is that self-love is not selfishness. Okay, I think a lot of times people are like, self-love is selfish. You know, you're only thinking about yourself. You're self-centered. Because you are required to really build a relationship with yourself, you have to focus on that relationship, which means you have to focus on yourself. But self-love is not self-centered. In fact, I would go as far as to say that it is not at all self-centered, but rather self-inclusive. Okay, so I think if you're watching this video, like me and where I was years ago, you might just be feeling so disconnected from yourself because you're prioritizing other people, you're prioritizing their needs, their preferences, their desires, and all the while you have slipped away from yourself. And you're feeling this, and you're recognizing this, and you're thinking to yourself, how do I kind of get back to myself? And so you've slipped away, you want to come back into connection, or maybe you've never even really felt super connected to yourself. You've been so outwardly focused, and now you want to go inward a little bit. And you want to basically raise up the importance that you place on yourself and put it on the same level as the other things that you prioritize in your life. So as far as I'm concerned, self-love is self-inclusive. It's not self-neglect. It's not forgetting about yourself. It's remembering yourself too, including yourself too, and making yourself important too. Selfishness, on the other hand, is very self-centered. When you're a selfish person, or you're just behaving selfishly, you are putting yourself above. You're making yourself more important, sometimes even at the expense of other people, at the expense of their needs and their preferences. And that's not what self-love is all about. The second thing that self-love often gets confused about, and that self-love is absolutely not, is self-care. That doesn't mean that they're not related, because actually self-care is a part of self-love. It's an extension of self-love, but it isn't self-love itself. Self-care are the actions and the behaviors that you do in order to nurture your own well-being. While self-love, on the other hand, is more of an experience of self-knowledge and understanding. It is a state of being. When you love yourself, you're recognizing yourself as love, and therefore you are showing up in the world as your deepest truth, which is that love essence. And so it's more of an awareness and a state of being than it is something that you're doing, although that there are choices you'll make and behaviors that will be self-nurturing as an extension of that loving relationship that you have with yourself. Okay, so the third thing that self-love is not narcissism. I hear it all the time, people who just don't get the whole self-love thing, and I know that there's a lot of emphasis in our culture on self-love and messages around self-love, and in my opinion, they oftentimes really do get it wrong. But people will say that's just really narcissistic, or it's promoting narcissism. And I definitely want to challenge that. I completely disagree. Self-love is not narcissism, for two primary reasons. There are more reasons, but two that come to mind that I want to share with you today. One is that narcissism really is about self-obsession. It's more than selfishness. It's the highest possible level of selfishness, where it is like, I care about me and only me. I will barrel through the world and ruin lives and abuse, and I will manipulate and take from, all for myself. It's all about me. And self-love is definitely not. The other thing that a narcissism is and includes that is not a part of self-love is that narcissists have a distorted view of themselves. They don't see themselves accurately. They see themselves as superior. And so that is literally the opposite of someone who has cultivated true self-love, because in order to do that, you have to really truly see yourself as you are. And after that, you have to come to a deep place of acceptance of everything that you see that you are as well. And what that does for a person, when you see yourself as you are, wonderful and flawed, having strengths and weaknesses, being pleasant in certain ways and difficult in other ways, that then gives you an enormous amount of compassion for other people. You start to see them as, people who have that same mix of things going on. And, you can be more empathic, you can be more compassionate, which is the opposite of what a narcissist is like. And that self-obsession is not a part of self-love either, because one thing that people who truly have self-love understand is that in order to nurture themselves and to truly love themselves and to feed their own souls, they have to be loving and giving to other people. They have to care about other people and prioritize their needs and their well-being as well as their own. So those are just a couple of the reasons why self-love is not narcissism, and being focused on self-love does not make you a narcissist. And the fourth thing that self-love is not is that self-love is not superficial. And I think based on some of the things that we've pointed out today, we've arrived there, but I just want to really drive that point home, that self-love is not superficial. It's not about appearances. It's not about having things. It's not about the image or how you appear to other people. It's all about the way that you see yourself and the relationship that you have with yourself. It's actually very, very deep. Self-love and cultivating self-love requires you to go inward and to seek out truth about yourself, and then to take that and demonstrate that truth to the world as an authentic being. And so while people sometimes do go for superficial pursuits in order to try to cultivate self-love, like they might say to themselves, you know what, maybe if I get this promotion, I'll love myself more, I'll feel better about myself, and then it'll be easier to love myself. Or if I get this person to fall in love with me, then maybe, once I achieve that, I can love myself more. They seek these external, superficial circumstances or experiences in the search for self-love. But what happens when you truly self-love or love yourself is that you may pursue these things, but it'll be because you want to see what's possible for you in life. You want to see, and do and experience all that you can, because your life is precious to you. And, you want to have beautiful things maybe, and you want to, have incredible experiences and travel the world and be in love. But all those things you do as a result of the love that you have for yourself, not as a means of cultivating. Just by way of summary, 4 things that self-love is not. Self-love is not selfishness. Self-love is not self-care, although they're closely related. Self-love is definitely not narcissism, and self-love is not superficial. So that's what I have for you guys today. I hope you found that helpful. I'd love to hear from you. If you have any comments, please drop them below, or just write me an email at dara@mudcoaching.com. I'd love to hear from you. I hope you'll be back next week for another episode of Digging Deep with Dara. In the meantime, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time.